Hello everyone, Benji-Sales here, and welcome to another video. You all always ask me so many good questions on Twitter, and I don't always get a chance to dive into the comments and break it all down there. I try to respond as much as I can, but in reality, a lot of times whenever I'm checking my Twitter and stuff, I'm at work really quick, just doing a quick check and things like that, and I don't get a chance to write my full thoughts across. So I thought, let's take some of the questions I've gotten in the last week, because there's been some really big news. PS4 crossed 100 million consoles shipped. Nintendo gave a bunch of sales updates, as well as stuff like Fire Emblem and stuff releasing. So I thought, let's take some of your good questions and let me give some responses to this and answer, my opinions and my thoughts on some of the big news that's hit lately. If this video is a success, I might do these. I'm not for sure every week, but it might become a regular thing where I go back, take the best comments of the week or so, and give my full thoughts on them. So enough of the intro. I just wanted to let you know exactly what this video is going to be about. Let's dive into your questions. So the first big news point, that I got some questions on was the PS4 has crossed 100 million consoles shipped, which is an absolutely staggering, amazing achievement. PS4 accomplished this faster than any console ever to reach 100 million. That's incredible. Who knows, where this is going to end its lifetime at. It's definitely going to go over 120 million, but how far past that it goes, who knows. If it can match the PS2 long-term remains to be seen. A lot of it's going to come down to how the PS4 sells after the PS5 releases. I have reasons to believe it's going to still sell strongly even after the PS5 comes out, so it could end up far above 120 million, but hard to say until we see how much it drops off once PS5 hits, what its actual end lifetime sales are going to be. So there was some questions about this. First of all, and this actually has to do with the Switch as well, and I want to apologize really quick to anyone whose names I mispronounce wrong throughout this video. There's a very strong chance I'm going to be mispronouncing a ton of these. I apologize fully for butchering your names. But first up, we have Game Whooper here asking, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on both Sony and Nintendo shipments for the quarter. Almost every major market, US, Japan, France, Spain, etc., has shown double-digit percentage increases for Switch and decreases for PS4. Yet Sony shipped over 1 million more consoles. So this is really interesting, right? Every market we have visible data to, the Switch has outsold the PS4 by a lot. Not by a little bit, it's been by a lot in every single market, like Game Whooper here points out. And yet the PS4 actually shipped more units than the Switch this past quarter. So how did that happen? I, of course, don't know for sure. I don't know exactly how this all shakes out, but I have a couple theories on this. First of all, the PS4 is doing very strong in a lot of markets that we don't get data for, like a lot of data. For example, the Middle East has become a hotbed for the PlayStation. A lot of people don't realize that, but a lot of countries over in the Middle East, that part of the world, the PlayStation brand's become incredibly strong there. So I'm sure some of that has to do with markets like that. Other parts of Asia as well, outside of Japan, have been growing for PlayStation across recent years, and we a lot of times don't get a ton of data out of those nations as well. So I think that's part of it. I think, maybe some of these traditional markets that we do see a lot of visibility to, yes, the PS4 is slowing down there, but it's very likely in a lot of these other emerging markets that the PlayStation is just tracking ahead of Switch in those territories. Second thing is, if they were going to be close to 100 million anyways, like if it was going to be close, PlayStation may have shipped a few extra consoles out the door just to make sure they hit that 100 million milestone. If they were going to be close, right? I'm not sitting here trying to tell you, oh, Sony, stuffed the channel with 2 million extra consoles, just to hit 100 million. Not saying that, but maybe, an extra 500K or something. If they were going to be close anyways, they might have done that just to hit that 100 million number, just to make it a nice boom. We got to the 100 million. It's a possibility, not saying it's for sure. And the other possibility is maybe there's a PlayStation Super Slim on the way, right? Or maybe a PS4 Slim version of the Pro. It's entirely possible that Sony has been pushing a little bit of extra stock out of the door to kind of make room for their next console, right? It could be that a revision's coming sometime in the future, entirely possible. We also saw that, price cuts are starting to happen, right? We finally seeing the Slim go on sale for $249.99. We're seeing that at most retailers in the US right now, Target, GameStop, etc., are all discounting the system. So it could be Sony was shipping some more units this past quarter to get ready for some of these price promotions that are happening. Could be a more regular thing moving forward. So, all of those are I think some of the reasons why, we could have seen the PS4, despite selling, through to consumers less units than what we've seen from the Switch in these markets. There are some factors that probably helped lead to the PS4 shipping more than the Switch. Next up, we have a question here from Francisco Giordano. I'm sorry for the mispronunciation, I'm sure. Said Layden was right when in 2017 he said Spidey would have helped them selling 100 million units. Absolutely. And if you see my original tweet about the 100 million units hit for the PS4, one of the things I note is that, one of the things that makes this possible is Sony's exclusives, right? That's one of the reasons why PS4 has been able to sell so much. Now, is that the only reason? Of course not. Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, all of these games push massive amounts of hardware, the PlayStation being an excellent system out of the gate, Sony support. There's a lot of things that led to 100 million, but there's no doubt that their very strong exclusive lineup definitely plays a factor. It can clearly be seen whenever games like Uncharted 4 and SpiderMan and God of War, etc. launched. You saw huge boosts in hardware sales and globally, not just in one market or another. The whole market saw huge boosts in sales for hardware. So there's no doubt that tens of millions of PlayStation hardware consoles have been sold straight up because of exclusives over the years. So excellent point about Spidey helping it reach 100 million. It absolutely did, as well as some other strong exclusives. Here from the Crap Gamer said, so what you're saying is exclusives matter. Absolutely they matter. And in fact, I believe exclusives are more important right now and in the next 5 to 10 years than they've ever been, right? I think that's one of the reasons why you're seeing Microsoft go so aggressive on acquiring new studios. It's why you're seeing, Sony talk about possibly acquiring more studios and building up the teams that they already have. Exclusives moving forward are going to be more important than ever, especially as things like services like Game Pass and PlayStation Now and streaming, gets bigger. All of these things, exclusives are very important, right? And as I noted with the PlayStation 4, that's one of the things that helped it sell 100 million units. Yes, exclusives absolutely matter to the Crap Gamer. They're more important than ever, and it's going to be a big deal next gen as well. This isn't one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, they're important from time to time. It's funny, when this gen started, there was kind of a narrative going around in a lot of places that exclusives were becoming less important. That was really all about third parties. Don't get me wrong, third parties are huge. They are, if you're going to collect everything, what's the most thing that's driving the industry? Yes, it is third party, games. But exclusives are important, and they're more important than they have ever been. All right, so the next bit of news that hit was Nintendo gave us a ton of updates, right, on some sales. The Switch passed 36 million units shipped, which is incredible. It's actually tracking in line with the PlayStation 4, right? They're tracking very similarly to how fast they've been selling. It's actually almost at 37. Not quite at 37 million, but it's close to it. Mario Maker 2 sold 2.42 million units in only 3 days. That's crazy and incredibly impressive. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has passed 17.89 million. Mario Odyssey is at 14.94 million. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at 14.73 million. I mean, this is incredible. Look at this software. Zelda Breath of the Wild, 13.61. Pokemon Let's Go, Pika and Eevee almost at 11 million now. Splatoon 2 at 9 million. And Mario Party basically at 7 million. I mean, these are astronomically impressive numbers, Nintendo, their first party is just selling absurd levels. I mean, look at that. You have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sitting at, like roughly, a 50% attach rate. That's absolutely insanity. You've got Mario Odyssey, Smash, basically at 15 million. You got, Breath of the Wild selling, better than any Zelda ever. Smash is selling better than any Smash ever. Mario Odyssey better than any 3D Mario ever. We're seeing record-breaking performances from all of their franchises. So why is this happening, right? Why are these games, these franchises hitting record numbers? It's not just install base, right? Yes, that's a factor because, there are more Switches out there than there were Wii U's, but there's not as many Switches as there were Wii's. So how are these franchises breaking records? That's one thing I got asked a lot. Here from GJB77, how much does Switch selling to an older age group play a part? Seems to me Nintendo have done well targeting an audience that has more disposable income than kids, teens, early 20s. This is a great point. If you watch a lot of Nintendo's marketing for the Switch, one thing that's really, in a way, surprising is how little marketing they're doing now to families and kids. Very little of it. If you watch a lot of their advertising, a lot of their commercials, they're targeting more that millennials age group, right? People, more in like their mid-20s to 30s, which, as we know, the average gamer in the US nowadays actually is like in their 30s. So it makes a lot of sense. That's by no means saying Nintendo's abandoning families or kids. Not at all. They still have a lot of family-friendly games. And yes, their advertising still does have an element of that. You will still see some of the family stuff. But it's definitely a different direction than what we've seen from some of their past advertising plans. They're definitely targeting a bit of an older demographic than they used to with, as you note, more disposable income. A lot of people are picking up Switches that are older than were picking up, say, like a 3DS or Wii U early on in their lifetime. So I think that's part of it. I think that's one of the reasons why you're seeing these franchises hit record numbers is the Switch itself is seen as a very good platform in general for the core gamer, which is something that's a little bit different than some past Nintendo systems, right? My opinion is the Switch seems more core friendly, like perception from consumers than any console they've had since GameCube. I think GameCube was the last time you had, that core demographic so into a Nintendo console. So yes, I think that's a huge part of it, is that it's just a bit of a more, spending ready demographic than older Nintendo consoles. Here's a question. Do you think Fire Emblem will sell more than 2.8 million units? In other words, is Fire Emblem's Three Houses going to be a new record for the Fire Emblem franchise? Yes, it is going to be. It is going to break a record. It will be the best-selling Fire Emblem game ever. Where it's going to finish, not sure. But to answer your question, yes, Fire Emblem Three Houses will be the best-selling Fire Emblem game ever. Question here from Pierre Hughes Meyer. Do you think the same for Animal Crossing New Horizons? It won't be easy. This is a great question. And the answer is, again, yes. I'm basically expecting all Switch major entries to break the records of all of the previous, because it's happening with basically every single Nintendo franchise. So I'm not saying necessarily the second and third iterations, right? Will the next Zelda sell better than Breath of the Wild? I don't know. Might not. But I do think the first entries on the Switch are basically, as long as they're good games. I mean, if New Horizons come out and it's somehow trash, no, it probably won't be the best-selling, Animal Crossing ever. But as long as they're good, I think at this point, it's happened so consistently, it's just safe to assume. Honestly, I think New Horizons probably best-selling Animal Crossing ever. Like you said, Pierre Hughes, it will not be easy. New Leaf sold amazing. It's a big number to hit, but yes, I do believe it's going to happen. Question here from Hero. Do you believe Sword and Shield can surpass X and Y and Sun and Moon? I don't know. I believe it will eventually reach more than 15 million sold copies worldwide, but I see many thinking it won't get that close. Yeah, I mean, I think Sword and Shield's going to crush Sun and Moon and X and Y. Like, crush them. Dude, Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, which, let's be frank, are not the most well-received or well-loved games in the history of the franchise, are at 11 million units. I mean, that's not a small amount. They've sold 11 million copies on Switch. That's huge. Now, granted, yes, it's not the record best performance ever for a Pokemon game, but dude, it's 11 million copies. Like, I think a lot of people underestimate how well those games really did, considering how casual they were. Sword and Shield being the first hardcore Pokemon game for the Switch, and it being a big change up for the franchise, a lot of new elements and changes here. I think it's gonna crush. It's probably gonna do 20 million plus. I'm not exaggerating. Probably 20 million plus for Sword and Shield. Next question from the Bald Emperor. Does this generally hold true for the Wii U re-releases? Are they exceeding their previous releases? Yes, for a lot of them. Not every single one, mind you, has been outselling their predecessor. There has been a couple entries that have not, but by and large, yes. Most of these games that were on Wii U and then got re-released for Switch are outperforming. Obviously, the most clear example for that is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is just absolutely crushing, going nuts. That game's going to finish way over 20 million units sold, way over 20 million units. But yeah, in general, to answer your question, Bald Emperor, yes, most of the Wii U to Switch ports have been outperforming their previous releases. Question here from Rio Gaming. Do you think Damon Ex Machina can continue the trend? It seems like out of every Switch exclusive this year, that's the one that targets a more niche audience and people have reservations on. Yeah, I agree with you here, Rio. I have no idea what I think Damon Ex Machina is going to do. I'm not expecting big sales for it. It is super niche in terms of the way it looks. I have no idea the quality of that game, how good it's going to be or not. So yeah, that one, really don't know. I'm going to have to see some data and stuff come in first before I have a strong opinion on it, but I'm not expecting Damon Ex Machina to be like a huge game. I think it is going to be a very niche demographic on that one. Evan P. With a 50% attach rate, just insane. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has to be one of the best returns on investment for any game release ever in the entire industry, considering it's a re-release. Yeah, Evan, you are absolutely spot on. That budget could not have been huge. It was already existed on the Wii U. Definitely, they made some improvements. There was, it's not like it was a free port. Of course, they had to put some investment into it to get it over to the Switch, but the budget could not have been large. And as we see, the game's going to finish way over 20 million units. So I agree, Evan. It's one of the best. It's up there. Obviously, Grand Theft Auto 5 re-release on PS4 and Xbox One is probably the most impressive, right? That's probably the best-selling re-release and return on investment ever. I don't think anything's ever matched that, but no doubt Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is among them. It's definitely one of the greatest, most profitable re-releases ever. Question from Dip Dop Doopity. This is about Borderlands 3. I tweeted that Borderlands 3 is going to be the largest launch, more than likely, of 2019 so far when it releases in September. So I'm not saying it's going to be bigger than like Call of Duty, but out of all of the game releases so far to date, it is going to be, from all tracking, unless something goes really crazy when it releases, like the game gets like 30 Metacritic or something like that, it's going to be the biggest. So Dip Dop Doopity here said, I don't know, Mortal Kombat 11 and Super Mario Maker were pretty big. To be clear, Borderlands 3 is tracking far above both. Far. Like way above Mortal Kombat and Super Mario Maker. Not even close. So again, unless something crazy happens and the game is awful or something like that, Borderlands 3 is going to be your biggest launch of 2019 so far. And then finally here from El Manco, do you see Doom Eternal selling really good this year? I expect it doing something like the Division 2 numbers, but far from Borderlands 3 and Modern Warfare. Maybe less than half of these monsters. So Doom Eternal is probably going to be the best-selling Bethesda game since, man, it's been a while since there's been a game that I think is going to sell as well as Doom Eternal from them. Was it Skyrim? Have they had something since then that... Yeah, honestly, I'm trying to think, and I think Doom Eternal is going to be the best-selling one probably since Skyrim, as long as it's good. It's tracking well, not huge, mind you. Like you said, not tracking like a Borderlands 3 or a Call of Duty so far, nothing like that, but Bethesda hasn't actually been on that strong of a run lately. When you look at the sales of games like Rage 2 and Wolfenstein and The Evil Within 2 and, you know, a lot of their games lately, they have not exactly been big sellers. So Doom Eternal is going to be the biggest hit out of Bethesda in quite a while. So to answer your question, yes, I do see Doom Eternal selling really good. Remember, it comes out super late in the year, so, you know, in terms of 2019 specific sales, it's not going to put up something insane, but it is going to sell really well. Not as well as Borderlands or Call of Duty or something like that, but the best-selling Bethesda game in a very long time. All right, everyone, that is going to wrap up my Q&A video. Thanks so much for all of your questions and comments that you leave on all of my tweets and all of my stuff all the time. It's amazing. I love reading them. I read literally every comment y'all post. I'm sorry, like I said, I don't have time necessarily to always dive in to every tweet and answer everything, but I'm going to try and do this more often. I think this is a fun way to do it. It gets me a chance to talk a little bit more fully than a tweet does about some of these, because a lot of the questions y'all ask me are so good, like they're so detailed that a really quick, you know, small comment doesn't exactly get across the full idea, you know, that I want to get across here. So this gives me a little bit more room to answer your questions a little bit better, I think. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Thanks for watching the video. If you like it, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps the channel out a bunch. You know, I always appreciate your support. I'm just a small little YouTube channel, but I really enjoy doing this. If you don't follow me already on Twitter, make sure you do. I'm at Benji-Sales. I talk all about the video game industry, but most importantly, that my specialty is the business and sales side of the industry, but I talk about everything there. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you in the next video.